Welcome back to Girly Chronicles.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. My toes are cute.
Girl, not the censor in the last video. I was like, what's going on?
Did you like that?
Yeah. I don't know why I thought your toe was flipping off the camera. I was like, how'd she get to do that?
I thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a good time editing. Yeah, sorry about the last episode, you guys. My phone ran out of storage, so I of course, got the iCloud storage. I had to break down and do the iCloud storage so that I can record this video on my iPhone. So if you want to start a GoFundMe for podcast mics,
We would really appreciate it.
what? Our producer is looking at me like she's mad.
She's like, I can get those podcast mics for you guys.
Yeah, she wants to buy them. Okay. Anyways, so this is episode 5. We're just gonna use that little intro. I mean, that was a good little cold open, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Wait, but I do want to say this. I want to tell this story on the pod because I think it's funny. I told Jazz the story earlier, but she's gonna pretend like she just heard it for the first time right here.
I'm gonna fake laugh.
Okay, so this table, I don't know what I was doing. I got home one day this week, and I guess if you're on audio, it's this table that we have in between us that has like a plant and like my little bowl of crystals on it and a candle, glass stuff, okay, that can break.
Yeah.
And I was playing around with Buzz, and we were on the couch, and again, I don't know what I was doing. I was just like, I don't know why I was hyper, but I was jumping around, okay? We were playing, and I jumped. I don't know what I was doing, but I jumped on the couch, and I knocked this table over, and it all went crashing back behind, and it hit the window over there. So I had to pick up the glass back behind there. And I broke my bowl, and I broke my little plate that I have here, this rainbow glass plate. You see it, but we super glued it.
I was gonna say it looks pretty good.
Yeah, Jocelyn super glued it.
Okay, so, can be Jocelyn.
It's fixed. Okay. Yeah. So, podcast. What is our topic today?
The topic is racism. It's so fitting because we are in a land of racism.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like that's a really good kickoff into the first little note I have over here.
Yes.
Don't worry, I'll read you the notes. Okay.
Okay.
They're
girl.
really just so for.
I don't know why she plays like I can see that far.
No, I don't expect you to see them.
I be like this.
I don't expect you to see them. I just have them for me so that I can keep us on track.
Okay, thank God. Or I'll see people across the room and they'll be waving, and I don't know who it is until they speak. So I'll just be like,
but what if they're not talking to you?
I never know. Sometimes I won't say anything back because I'm too scared that I'm gonna get it wrong, and they'll be like, Jazzmine, and I'm like, okay, you meant me. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so again, Jazz needs glasses. Okay.
Yeah.
So we said we're in the land of racism. Yeah, we're in Texas, right? We're in Dallas, and okay, you guys. So it's March 2nd. So Black History Month just ended.
Yep.
Shout out Black History Month.
Woo-hoo.
And I did think about doing this podcast last week, but even if I did it last week, I probably wouldn't have had it out in time. But anyways, okay, but you know what? Why is Black History Month in the shortest month of the year? That's the real
tea.
Clock it. Wait,
then they threw in so many different other holidays in there too, like President's Day.
No, they really did. President's Day, yeah. What? Why was the bank closed? I couldn't cash my check because the bank was closed.
On President's Day?
On President's Day. What the hell is
President's Day?
What the hell is President's Day?
Which is so crazy because I thought
the deal?
Any day that a bank is closed is like a national holiday, which means that you have to be off from work, right?
Yeah, see, my office doesn't give a shit about that. So.
Oh yeah, mine either.
If they could have us work on Christmas and Thanksgiving, they would.
Oh, I see.
Well,
what would you guys be doing?
That's the question. That's the question I ask myself every day, Jasmine. But you know what? We're not going to rant about work right now because this podcast is a break from work.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Back on topic.
Yeah. Zip it. No, I'm kidding. Before we started recording, okay, so we like sit down and we do our notes right before we start recording, and Jazz always wants to like talk about the topic that she wants to talk about, and I'm like, save it for the pod.
And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Anyways, we keep tangents. But, so Texas, Dallas, honey. Black History Month, honey.
Yes.
Okay. I say all of that to say. So, was it last? Yeah, that's what I did last Sunday. Remember when I came over, I told you about it.
Yes.
So, for work, I went to a panel. It's held by an organization called Human Rights Dallas. They hosted a panel called Living History, something like that. But it was two of them were it was 3 people, right?
Right.
3 African American scholars, and like Black activists, right?
Yeah.
They answered questions about racism in Dallas and like America, obviously.
Okay, that's good.
Because Dallas, I learned this another human rights event, but and they brought it up at this one. So in the 1920s specifically, but obviously it wasn't just the 1920s.
Yeah.
But that's whenever it was like rampant and like well known. Sorry, I'm like out of breath.
Talking about the urbanization of Dallas?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's
sorry.
not.
I'm jumping.
Just listen to this.
Listen, Linda.
It's something we all should know, right?
Right.
If you're in Dallas and you're in Texas, you should know this, and everywhere else because a lot of people are moving here. Anyways, if you're gonna move here, you should know this. So, Dallas was home to the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh. I definitely didn't know that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow, that's so cool to know. Cool.
Yeah, so the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, was on and poppin' in Dallas in the 1920s. It was the largest chapter, the second largest chapter. Do you want to guess where it was? Give me a guess. Joss is saying Tennessee.
Oh, I want to say Alabama. Yeah.
The second largest was Fort Worth.
Whoa, that's so
Fort
crazy.
Worth. As in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Wow. Not the DFW.
Not the DFW. Not the DFW.
Crazy. I mean, whoa, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so 1920s and it led on and into 20s, 30s, whatever, that era, the state fair would hold a KKK day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is like what?
Girl, I don't know. The KKK used to be a political party. Like a legit political party. So, girl, I don't know.
Yeah.
They were doing white people stuff. It was a honky tonk.
I
don't know.
Girl.
It was the honky tonk, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing. What do white people do whenever they gather together?
Woohoo! I don't know.
I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, that's Dallas. So that was the panel. That was a little bit about the panel was, and they talked about like how you can see the ramifications in modern day Dallas and the what'd you say? Urbanification. Yeah, that, aka gentrification, aka like, well, okay, not gentrification because now we have gentrification, but so like, I guess rolling back.
Yeah.
You have like segregation, you have like redlining they did it everywhere, but
Yeah.
we're talking about Dallas, they have redlining.
Right.
So that's where real estate companies wouldn't let black people buy homes in certain areas.
Right.
So they pushed them all to South Dallas.
Right.
So that's what we were talking about. Like the poverty that you see today in South Dallas is because of that racism. Yeah, because of those racist policies. But then they were talking about gentrification, which is now you have people buying homes, renovating homes in that area, raising property taxes for people who were there, and then there's not as many black homeowners. A lot of people are renters now because someone bought that house and is now renting it, or a big company bought that house, or whatever.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I was seeing where this has happened a lot throughout the pandemic too.
Yeah. It's I'm sure it got really bad during 2020. So that happened in Dallas. We see the ramifications today, and then how it's reflected in education. How schools are funded and things like that. And they brought up, I forgot what high school it was. I want to say Carter, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
Right.
But one of the high schools in South Dallas. It was 2017. The kids had to do a walkout because their school was literally falling apart, and the district wouldn't fix it.
Yeah.
So the students had to hold a protest to have their school not have the roof cave in and have rats. They had rats. Yeah. So they talked about that. It was really good. And one of the men, I don't know how old he was, but he was an older gentleman.
Yeah.
Lived through segregation and everything. And he said something that really stuck in my mind, got my attention, because it's something I had never really thought about before, or something that's not really brought up. But he was saying how during segregation, basically there was a black economy, right? Because black people couldn't go to the same places that white people could go to, so they had their own areas, their own businesses, right?
Yes.
Where they knew they could go and it would be safe.
Right.
They had their own stuff. And so whenever integration happened, they lost all of that. They lost all of those businesses, all of that wealth, essentially, right?
Right.
They lost all of that wealth. And it hurt them. Right? And we see that generationally. And, instead, of course, the quote-unquote white businesses were kept because now they were allowing black people in. So, of course, they got to keep their business,
Right.
So it was just such an interesting thing to think about, because you don't really think about that. You don't really think about what life was actually like during that time,
Right.
And how they just had to kind of deal with it, live with it, find a way around it.
Yes. I think a lot about, especially the women in my family, how they had to live. They just had to put up and shut up. We're very lucky that we live in the time that we do, because we get to have our opinions. But back, literally listening to my grandma talk about stories from her childhood, I'm like, why did you do something? And she's like, I couldn't. That's just the way it was. You didn't really fight it, outside of the civil rights movement. But I do think that, okay, when we look at racism from a white perspective, it's coming from I think I'm better than you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I know that I have the complexion for protection. You're just here. At the end of the day, I'm gonna get what I want. But I think when I listen to the stories of my grandparents, it really is fear. It's not that I'm not gonna say, excuse racism, but I'll listen to them talk about stories of the things that took place in their lifetimes. And it's more I'm gonna treat you kind, but I still don't trust you. I don't know what it is that you have up your sleeve, but I'll be kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so earlier you brought up the generational curse thing, right? From especially if you're a black American.
Yeah.
From the slave trade. So, or I mean, yeah, even not just that, obviously, but even within the past couple of generations, how you're saying, white people at a certain point in time, they treated black people, yeah, exactly, they treated them badly and were more outward and more out loud, more upfront about it.
Yeah.
Versus now, what we have grown up with, right? Like
It's
obviously,
covert.
yes, obviously racism still exists, but yeah, it has morphed. And I don't know what book I was reading, because I can't remember if it was that one or if it was the New Earth one, but one of the books I was reading, it said something about like that's how evil works, kind of, or like it's energy, it's dark negative energy, and you can't create or destroy energy,
Right.
so it just ends up morphing into something else.
Right.
But anyways, kind of like back to what I'm trying to ask you is like, so hearing these stories and knowing, having maybe an idea of like the world that they grew up in, and even your experiences, like how does that, like how does it feel being looked at like, I don't trust you, or having like even knowing that like maybe this person who is white doesn't like me, like what I mean, what is that, how has that impacted you, I guess?
I think when I was coming up, because I hadn't lived life long enough, I was just like, okay.
Right.
You know, you really do feel like, oh, well, they haven't done anything to me. Like, I don't have any feelings about this because I haven't been here long enough. But looking back on, like, my childhood, the slick remarks have always been there. You know, like, I had this one girl I was friends with, and, you know, of course, within the South, it's against your religion to date outside of your race. So I was like, so what do your parents say? Like, you can be friends with us, but you can't date us? And she was like, yeah, like, that's exactly it. And one of our friends was like, because I was such a chameleon in high school where I had different types of friends, I would sit with different people throughout whatever class period I wanted to sit with. And so one of the comments that was made was, you know, we know her during this period, but then she goes back to being a black girl during study hall, because I would go sit with the black kids, which is my community, you know? And it's weird because at the time, like, that wasn't like, oh, like, what did you mean by that, you know? But when I think about the comment playing in my head back from, like, all those years ago, I'm like, what the fuck did you mean by that? So it's always been there. I just feel like I didn't have good enough guards to be like, oh, that's actually out of pocket what you just said.
Yeah, it's like they see you as a black girl, meaning they have a stereotype in their mind of what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But because they can be friends with you, it's like they can't really compute that, you know?
Yeah, because there would be, okay, it would come from the same girls. There was this one story that we were talking about, like, customers at Brookshire's. Mm-hmm. And she was like, it's that loud lady that comes in with no bra, right? And so she was like, but you know who it is. It's black women. And I was like, no, not all black women do that.
Right.
And she was like, no, but I'm saying most of our customers that do that, they're black women. And so it really was like, it was like they were detaching me from the fact that I was in this community because I didn't behave like how they presumed a black woman should behave.
Right. And yeah, I feel like that's the racism that we know, meaning like they don't hate black people outwardly, or they don't like say that they do, or they don't, you know, spit slurs in their face.
Yeah.
But they still hold those judgments, and they can't see black people or people of color as simply just people. They see them as a stereotype always.
Yeah.
You're always, if you're not white, you're a stereotype of whatever you are.
Yeah. I have so many different stories that are kind of like that where like I was saying, not that I would ever say like I'm the token black girl, because I do resonate with my community, but it's like I was the black girl that was okay.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, you were treated that way by white people, by the white people that you know and grew up with. You were treated as the one that was acceptable, right?
Yeah.
The O.J. Simpson.
even like some college experiences, like it would be Hispanics too, where they would be like,
oh yeah,
well, my parents say I can't date black people, and I'm
Hispanic,
like,
yeah.
What, girl?
Hispanics
We in the
are
same.
racist. No, girl, no. Yeah, there is a sector of Hispanics that are definitely outwardly racist towards black people.
Yeah.
And also Hispanics who are, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't want to say that they're racist because, okay, Jocelyn is going to look at me when I say this. Hispanics who use the N-word. Yeah. Why are you doing that?
Honestly, I've had to check people. I've had a friend that would say the N-word, but she wasn't black. And I'm like, girl, you can't say that word. And she's like, oh, well, I'm from the hood. No. I don't care. You can't say that word.
Yeah, and it's like, but also, maybe they're the same Hispanics that, like, the stereotype, or like in the meme, once you make $60,000, you're a Republican, because it's like, a lot of Hispanics either consciously or subconsciously want to be white. They want to be not want to be white, but they want to be accepted by white people, by white Americans in America. Yeah. And maybe that's a form of like assimilation, or maybe that's exactly what assimilation is, I guess.
I think that's what it's like for the black community as well. It's why you see black men, whenever they do choose a white woman, which I don't care what you choose. Right. But it's like whenever they choose that for themselves, it's like they have to give an excuse why they're doing it. They're like, oh, I can't deal with the black woman. The black woman is... When in actuality, we're just like other women. We all have, like, emotions and things that we can't put up with. And
yeah, as much as, like, Republicans want to say, why do you have to make it about race? Why do you have to make it about race? Like, yeah. whenever you say stupid shit like that. Yeah. You just made it about race.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about your view with black women. I don't care what you do, but you've taken up a battle with me for some reason, because subconsciously I feel like they're betraying themselves by being with that white woman. So then they have to turn around and defend the fact that they're with her. Right. Because if you're so secure in your choice, you don't have to explain to me why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So
interesting. Okay, let me look at our notes. Actually, and I kind of want to use this moment to ask Jocelyn to bring me a cookie. Jocelyn, will you please bring me a cookie? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I haven't even finished the first thing on here, but I guess we talked about your experience too, which is important here, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, so with that being like the token black girl, because I really didn't realize how, like, I was being not like a chess piece, but I just feel like I was so like myself that
thank you.
You're funny. Me getting certain opportunities and stuff like that over the black kids that were of my community, you know, like of course it ruffled feathers. So you have the fact that you're the token black girl, but you're not fully accepted by these people because you're not ever going to be as good as these people. And then you have your community who kind of feels like, oh, you know, she's a sellout. Like, she cares way too much about what they think about her. Like, she doesn't have a backbone, you know. But really, I think what has kind of been my saving grace is that I speak differently than how they assume that a black woman would speak, you know. And so
you talk white.
Yeah. Honestly, God, it's.
But did they tell you that, or have it? I mean.
Yeah, and
you know that's what they say. They're like, oh, you talk white.
I've been literally.
What the fuck does that mean?
No, literally, they'll be like, you sound like a snow bunny. Like, oh my gosh, you sound like so white, or like, you sound so cute and proper. But I think the biggest thing is that with my community, because of that, they'll make projections, or like they'll project onto me what they think I'm gonna be like. So they think I'm this black girl that wants to be white so bad, who would do anything to like be with a white guy, and people will tell me to my face, you know what, you're actually really cool. I thought you were gonna be like Hillary Banks type, like somebody that was like super dumb and like prep.
It took me a while, but
Somebody super dumb in prep,
right,
that was living for the gaze of like white people. And so it's taken me a lot to just be like, okay, this is what it is. This is exactly how I sound. I'm not trying to pander to white people. I am for my community, but also at the same time, like, somebody's preconceived notion about me isn't me whatsoever.
Yeah, and it makes me think of racism as a concept, because it was, I mean, obviously, I guess it was introduced by white people, right? Because through colonization, like, they looked at people who were a different color than them and automatically, for some reason, deemed them as less than. And so we're living centuries after that.
Yeah.
And we have stereotypes. We have people who fit those stereotypes. Therefore, it validates a racist viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the psychological toll that it takes, the subconscious toll that it takes on said minority groups, people of, I don't even really want to say minority groups, because
we are the majority.
Ethnic groups, right?
Yeah.
Non-white groups. There are sectors that believe that they are supposed to be that stereotype.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
Right.
And so then they do, like how you say, it transpires into, you don't look like me, exactly like me, and you don't fit what everyone is telling me I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Therefore,
you're a traitor.
Something's wrong with you, you're a traitor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, it takes a lot to get there, right? Because you have to know a lot of things. And I have it on my notes, but I've been thinking about the whole time, they cloned Tyrone, because they cloned Tyrone. It's a movie on Netflix, for those of you who maybe haven't seen it, but I think, because it's been out for a while, so I thought I was kind of late. But anyways, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like I don't know what to call it, like sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
But basically it takes all of what we're talking about, all of these themes, and perfectly sets it out on a sci-fi stage, and like really shows you that I don't even really know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, it just shows you all of these things like so plainly, like through that stereotype, right? Like, so I guess, okay, well, I'll explain the basis of the movie so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so the basis of the movie is the main character is he's a drug dealer. Okay, he's a drug dealer. He lives in like a poor area, quote unquote, the hood.
Yeah.
Right? The ghetto, if you will. He is a drug dealer. He I don't know, like he goes in and he tries, I don't know what he was doing, trying to steal, drug money, I don't know, doing drug dealer things, okay?
Yeah.
And another drug dealer shoots him and kills him.
Yeah.
And so they pick up his body, and then he wakes up the next day and he does the same thing again. And the drug dealer, he goes to a pimp's house to, I guess, like check, I guess the pimp owes him money or something.
Right.
And he like goes to try to get the money, and and then he does it again the next day, and the pimp is like, he was like, we just had this conversation yesterday, like you already did this yesterday.
Right.
And he's like, no, what are you talking about? And so then it leads to, dang, I don't really know what they go do. I guess the pimp is like freaked out because he's like, no, they killed you. I know they killed you.
Right.
You know? And so it's a pimp, it's a drug dealer, and they end up teaming with a prostitute. A woman who's a prostitute.
Yes.
Because I can think the pimp and the prostitute like kind of had a thing. Or, you know, whatever. She's his...
Pimp. I mean, she's his prostitute.
Yeah. Yeah. So, crap. I'm mad that I can't remember why they go down there. But they... Oh, because there's this black SUV that like drives all crazy through the neighborhood, and he sees it and he catches on, and so then he follows that van or that truck, whatever, to this place, and they go in and they find like a secret lab underneath this house that they go into.
Yeah.
And they find stuff. Obviously they find this like experiment, and they find this one, sorry, this is like, I'm like getting into details, but they find this one drug because he thinks it's going to be cocaine. So he tries it, but it's not cocaine. And then he figures out that they're putting it in the chicken where they live. It's like some kind of chemical that like makes everyone like happy and like delirious.
Yeah.
So they so they find that, and then they find they figure out that the perm stuff that they put to straighten, like, to whenever they straighten your hair, has chemicals in it.
Yes.
So the scene wherever they show you that, the woman sitting in the chair, she's like complaining about all the bills that she has and how she can't keep up. And the woman puts the chemicals in her hair, and she just kind of like falls like asleep. Not like falls asleep, but she just kind of like fall, like she gets like sedated.
Yeah.
You know, she like
it chills her out.
Yeah. If she forgets about it, it chills her out. And so they start to figure all that stuff out, and they start to catch on, and they start looking for the secret lab. And so they go and they find the headquarters. And so they stir up all this trouble, and they get to this point where they figure out everything is like controlling them, or they figure out the people underground are doing experiments on them.
Right.
Like spying on them, controlling everything that they do. Even in their like the scene is they're in the club, and the music that they're playing is like rap music, but the DJ is literally like, oh, you guys are hypnotized. Like the music is like hypnotizing them.
Yeah.
And so then they chase the main characters out because the people controlling them like pin them on him. So it comes to like a point where the guy in charge, the white guy in charge of the experiment, or he just works for it, whatever.
Yeah.
He works for the company.
Yes.
And he's like telling them, he's like, oh, we control you. You know, he's showing them that like the drug dealer guy is a clone of himself, you know?
Yeah.
He's like under control of this white guy. He like gives him a command, and he like starts doing like what he's saying. And so, so they figure all this out, but they go back. He wants to go back because he wants to find his body. And okay, I don't know, there's a little like plot thing in here that I kind of don't really fully understand it, or it didn't really fit. Okay, so he goes and he wants to find his body.
Hold on, I have to pee.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Let me pause. Resume. We had a little potty break. Okay, so like I was saying, they clone Tyrone. Okay, yeah, and like you were just saying, what did you say? The rap music, but what did you say after that?
Okay, so I was telling Maya that this movie is like, it's so relatable because people call perms creamy crack because of all the chemicals that it has in it that can give you cancer. And then I was watching this video recently from the Diary of a CEO. A young lady was on there talking about hair products that are bad for you, and she was saying that majority of the hair products that are made for black women have chemicals in it that are really, really bad for us. And she's like, I don't know why, but it's in most of their hair products. And then going back to what you were saying about we're hypnotizing you about the club scene. Okay, so I remember this one interview where one of these rappers in the past, he was approached from a member of a record label, and one of the people that is responsible for like our prison systems, right? They wanted him to produce rap music that was violent, right? Because if you create this violent music, you create these affirmations, you create this low frequency within people. People resonate with the image of you being black. They listen to it, and it creates like this frenzy within them, right?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know why, but hearing this, I have a really bad feeling in my body right now.
Yeah.
Like, I want to cry.
And that's how they keep their prison systems full, because these men will listen to this music that either makes them angry, or these women will listen to this music that makes them feel like shit and like worthless, and they'll keep creating those generational curses where the men aren't at the house and the women think so little of themselves.
So in the movie,
No. Okay, what happens in the movie?
when they go underground and they find the secret experiment, they literally have pods of people they've kidnapped and that they're doing experiments on. And I put that in quotes right now because they're torturing them.
Right.
But there's literally a scene where it's these two men and they're playing a violent rap song, and they're beating each other up.
What the hell?
They're beating each other up.
Yes.
And then the scientist switches it to like a happy song, and they start hugging each other.
Yes.
And okay, so yeah, that.
Yeah.
Okay, but so where was I about the movie? So I was about the movie where they find out that the main character is a clone of himself. He's being controlled
Yes.
by the experiment people. So, spoiler alert, everyone. I'm going to spoil a plot point here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jazz. 'Cause you
It's
haven't seen the
okay.
movie.
It's all right.
So, spoiling a plot point, everyone. I'm not going to put a timestamp. Go fuck yourself. I'm kidding. Okay, sorry. Get it together. Okay. He goes all the way to the top.
Yes.
And he finds out who's running the show.
Right.
Let me throw in a detail before I say this, before I put the spoiler out here.
Right.
So, this main character, a drug dealer guy, his name is Fontaine. Fontaine has a little brother, Robbie something, who I think he gets shot and killed.
Oh.
But everyone in this neighborhood has a family member who's been
That's
shot and killed
Yeah.
in a gang violence.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, the main character has a little brother who gets shot and killed, and that has like a heavy effect on him, his storyline, his heart, right?
Yeah.
His character development, I guess. So he goes all the way to the top. Spoiler alert. He finds out who's running the show. And it's himself. But obviously like an older version of himself, like not the future, but I guess the present.
Yeah.
So whatever clone he is, he's like obviously like the younger version of himself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he says he uses Robbie's DNA or something, but he's the lead scientist on this, and he develops the thing that allows them to clone people.
Yeah.
To keep cloning, to keep having this person come back, the same character, because that's a really big plot point, is that they keep bringing back the same character. So when they go underground and they meet the white guy, he tells them that, have you heard the thing that America is an experiment? Like, I'm asking you, Jazz, have you heard that America is an experiment? Okay, well, he tells them that
It's a shit show.
He tells them that America is an experiment.
Right.
And that essentially they have the hood, the quote unquote, the ghetto, right, as a control area.
I could see that.
And I'm going to give you a real life example. I'm going to bring it back. Okay.
Yeah.
So they use this area as a control. That's why they're cloning the people. That's why they need the drug dealer character, because he's a character. He's playing a role.
Yeah.
He's keeping that area violent and dangerous.
Yes.
For the women and children who live there, and for everyone else, for the men too, for everyone who lives there, right?
Right.
Keeping it bad, essentially. And so that's the whole point of the movie, right? Back to what I was saying about South Dallas.
Yes.
Okay, so whenever I was hearing the panel, the old man, what's his name? Donald, what was his name? Donald Taylor or something? he's from Dallas. He grew up in Dallas his whole life, and he was telling the story, or not telling the story, but he was making the point of how there's a million 7-Elevens that exist.
Yeah.
Right? One on every corner in downtown Dallas.
Yes.
Do you know where there's not a 7-Eleven?
In North Park.
No. In South Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
In South Dallas. So then I told Jocelyn after I made the connection, because I had just watched this movie and then I went to this panel. I made the connection. I told her, I was like, South Dallas is the control area.
Yeah.
Like, and the redlining is the real life proof of the control, right? It was controlled in our face.
Yeah.
In our face. Like, they were told, yeah, you can only live here. And even if you move out of there, it's really hard
for you to live
anywhere else. And this is another little story that I have from that same panel, which is 1989. Buzz. Licking. Make him stop.
Hey, you cut it out over there. You stop being a
Sorry,
dog.
he's getting on my nerves. Anyways.
Maya doesn't like when her dog is a dog.
No, it's because he licks. I don't like it. Anyways. Sorry. Okay, so, oh, crap, what was I saying? 1989.
Yes.
This man, he's an imam. He moved from Texas, from Alabama, I think, and he moved to Dallas in 1989. Him and his family, his wife and kids, moved to Mesquite. Okay, Mesquite is where I grew up, went to high school, everything. Lived there my whole life. Mesquite is east of Dallas, so it's a suburb east of Dallas, right?
Yeah.
It's a big city, but it's a suburb, right? And we're in Dallas County, okay, so we count. He was one of the first, or I guess like the first black family that lived on his street in the neighborhood in 1989, and I'm going to say this because this story is insane to me. 1989, they were harassed. They were harassed by their neighbors. Like,
yeah,
their car was shot with a BB gun. They toilet papered their house. But the craziest thing, what they had to move, they got bombed.
Oh my gosh.
Someone put a pipe bomb in their house.
I'm not gonna lie, Maya. I can remember being 7 and my mom and my stepdad at the time, they were like doing well for like a black family. We had bought our first home. I'm contributing. We had got our first home in this all white neighborhood, and that's originally like Palestine Westwood area. So right. The way the district would split was I grew up on like the side that had like all the white families, and so I do remember them egging our car. I do remember them doing the Jolly Ranchers to the car trick. I do remember our house being toilet papered. Like, what? Yeah, and I don't know why, like, I blocked that out, but you saying that, I'm just like, what the fuck? Because that happened to us, too. And I remember my mom would always be so pissed.
Yeah, like, I'm speechless because, and this, one of the points I have, because I just don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah.
But racism is a wild concept.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to put some logic on it by looking at it historically, looking at colonization. But to travel to another land and to see a person that is different than you and then automatically say, you and everyone who looks like you is less than me, less than human, not just less than me, but less than human. Let's really drive that point home.
Yeah.
You are less than human. You are less deserving of the land that you live on and have born onto and were created from.
Yeah.
And I am going to kill you and everyone you know because I want this land, I want this resource, I want this whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't matter to me. You're just like an obstacle that I need to move.
Yeah. I'm saying, yeah, because it is more covert, but that is definitely the thinking with racism in today too.
Yeah, exactly. We've already said that it's morphed into something else, but at the same time, it really hasn't. I mean, maybe old racism is coming back because of our president, right? But um yeah, we're still taking the land, we're still taking the resources, and if we're not doing that, we're making sure that there are people in charge who will do what we say.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem that's happening in a lot of countries right now. The Uganda and Congo are at war
Yeah.
because of that, because their governments were put in place by imperialist
Right.
Britain, America, whoever, right? And I don't know why this just popped into my brain, but then I look at like Sweden, Denmark, the Nordic areas, and I think about this thing called socialism. Follow me here.
Okay, I'm following you.
Follow me with this one. Socialism is currently existing, allowed to exist, not shit on, not threatened by the United States and their military.
Yeah.
But Cuba, Venezuela,
Mm-hmm.
China, Vietnam, probably most of Africa,
Yeah.
Latin America, El Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Colombia. All of these countries, brown countries, black countries, have Cambodia tried to, or attempted, or maybe successfully have a revolution, a communist, socialist, leftist revolution. People's Revolution is what they're called. All of these countries were then invaded, shot down, bombed, cut off financially, whatever. They're destroyed.
Yeah.
By white American imperialists.
Yeah.
For that. But those same ideas exist and flourish in countries that are mostly white.
But you want to know why?
Because tell me why, because this is something that I think about. And I feel like it's correlated to racism.
It is. Historically, so what ended up happening was in Europe, the Europeans, they could see that people of color were the majority, right? They would no longer rule if the majority found out that they were the majority and that they gained self-actualization, right? If those people realized how actually powerful they were, how smart, how talented, how gifted they were, then their power would be gone out the window. So what ended up happening was they started planting the seeds of racism within their poor white men, right? So they're like the rednecks of that time, right? Like people that were poor but look like them, so that they would have some type of force or like fake unity to then say like, hey, we're better than the people of color, when really the people on top just wanted to keep their power. So that's, if you look at it right now here in America, like when you see the middle class white man get upset about like our views on what's going on in the world, they really, this isn't to help you at all. This, you're just a mouthpiece for these people. You're here to continue spouting whatever nonsense they need you to spout so that racism can exist here, right? And even with there was this one message that I was reading. It was during the slave era, right? It's called how to make a Negro, right? So it talks about all the ways they psychologically fucked black people. So it was like, you need to make sure like you instill fear in them. You need to separate them from lights to darkest. And so that colorism still exists within us today. So you have the white man saying, the poor white man spouting all of these racist rhetorics that really and truly aren't a thing. It's just to keep those in power, right? Then you have us playing along with it, being like, oh, well, you know, I'm a yellow skinned girl. Like, I'm a light skinned girl. That's never happened to me. I don't know.
Okay, Drake.
Yeah, so even within the black experience, sometimes they do still play into racism because they'll play into colorism, where they're just like, oh, well, that's not how I've been treated. But you know you're being treated a certain way because of your skin tone, not because they think so highly of you, but because they use that as like a coin to like make other people fight amongst that community. You know what I mean?
100%. You're so right. It's so important. Class and race go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Obviously, capitalism doesn't exist without racism.
Yeah.
We see it today in these what we call culture wars, right? The woke virus, right? And now the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. They use race as a tool, as you're saying, to distract us from what's really going on, from what they're really doing.
Right.
Which is keeping us all poor. We're all at the bottom, black and white, and everything in between. We're all poor.
Yeah.
None of us are getting fed, no matter who's at the top, right? Because we're at a day and age where, yes, there's still a lot of white people at top, but there are non-white people at the top.
Yeah, I think with that, the fight is those people don't see themselves as people of color anymore because they're not associated with the same class.
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
Yeah, so literally the second that they make it out of poverty, which I can see, like, they're thinking because...
And this brings us back to Kanye.
This brings us right back to
This
Kanye.
brings us right back to Kanye.
After you escape, like, the...
How do we always get back to him?
After you escape whatever poverty put you in, right? It's really hard to go back to the communities that you've come from, right? Because there is jealousy now because, okay, I see this person has made it and I want that same thing. I feel entitled to that because we are brothers, we are kin, we are from the same neighborhood. So you should help me, actually. So I think a lot of times what happens is that they don't come back either out of guilt or out of like fear. Because instead of it being like, okay, let's build each other up, because of the lack mentality that is kind of generationally put into people of color, it's not ever going to be like, oh, I can come back and I can like do things in a loving way. It's always going to be like, I'm entitled to what you have because we're the same. And whenever that person does put up boundaries, it's like, oh, you fake now. Like, you want to be white so bad now. Like, oh, you want blah, 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 blah. And then there's a target on their back. So it does kind of feel like, how do we get ahead if the second that somebody makes it out, once they do come back, they're gone. Like, they're offed. Yeah,
and that's actually something that was mentioned on the panel. He said all of our kids want to be rappers or professional football players or professional like athletes. Like, but no, that's not going to happen for everyone.
Yeah.
You know? It's not going to happen for everyone, and there's so many more things that you can do, and why only give yourself two options, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. And So I can't remember exactly what you said, but it's a point that I wanted to talk about. Oh, I guess kind of like, yeah, so the way that racism is now is that it's more subconscious, it's more internalized, it's more ingrained in our society because it is quiet, because it has just slipped in.
Right.
And so I see that in my personal life and experiences. I just thought about like the during the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020.
Right.
I ended up in a conversation with a couple of, like, it was me, my dad, and my aunt, her husband, and one of my cousins.
Yeah.
And basically, I was in the hot seat because, you know,
Maya in the hot seat? What?
yeah, I had to like defend like the movement basically,
Yeah.
because they were like, well, what are they asking for? Like, because in so many people's minds,
We're already getting.
you already have equity.
Yeah, which is so crazy.
It is crazy, but my cousin said something about, it was along the lines of like, well, they act that way because of like their culture, like the music and everything. And I was like kind of like taken aback, because this was 2020, so this was 5 years ago, so I was 20, 21, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? Like, because I didn't think that people actually thought like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And here I am looking at someone I'm related to saying this, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Whoa. People think like that? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And I don't know if it's just me as a person or the way I grew up. I don't know. But I've never, I just don't see the world in the way that the world expects me to see the world. Like,
yeah.
I don't follow the stereotypes, and I tend to see through, like, yeah, like what is supposed to be presented to me. Right? So I kind of up front was like, I questioned that. I was like, but no, like, that's just a stereotype. Like, obviously black people don't act like that, and they're not all like that. And like, what are you even talking about right now? You know?
And I feel like, okay, it is hard, especially when you're white. Let's be so for real. Like, you have the whole world at your feet in a way. Mm-hmm. You have people mirroring back to you that you are the shit. And even if it's like you're very average, you're very mediocre, if you come from a decent background that can pay your way, you're good as golden, right? Mm-hmm. You don't actually have to go out of your way to make friends with people of different cultures. Like, you already have seats at the table. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you get to have like your blinders on, and you get to show up as you are in a way. And I think sometimes whenever I do see people, you know, with diverse friend groups and with diverse thoughts that are white people, I'm like, okay, either he was raised right, or they put themselves in that predicament, you know. And so I don't think it's your cousin's fault. I think that
because he grew up in Forney. Okay,
Yeah.
He grew up in Forney, and I mean, he's not that old, or, you know, but he's still like, what, in his 30s now. So he went to high school like a long time ago. You guys, early 2000s, I guess, question mark.
Question mark.
You know, and Forney is a really small place. It's still small, and it's mostly white.
Yeah.
So I know that there weren't a lot of black kids or any kids of color at his school.
Yeah.
So I know he was mostly around white kids, and he grew up like a white kid. Like,
Right.
yeah, his dad is technically Mexican. He's half Mexican, but not really. He's American. Like, he's white. He looks white.
Yes.
So, yeah, but even in that conversation, my aunt was like upset because she was like, everyone has to work hard. Like, I had to work 2 jobs to, you know, put her daughters through college. And I'm just like, at that time I was just like, yeah, okay, you know. But it's just like, it's that civil war, right?
Right.
Like, you can't see that, yes, we are
all working.
We are all working hard.
Yeah.
But some people have extra boundaries because of this thing called racism.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I do try my hardest to, like, educate. You know, it really does just depends on the energy of the person, right?
Yeah, because definitely not everyone's gonna listen.
Yeah, I've encountered, like, I had one friend where, you know, like, she was homeschooled, so what she was taught really was, like,
The truth.
yeah, she didn't we were young too, we were like maybe 20, and she didn't go to college. She only knew her fiance outside of, like, you know, high school friends, right? And we were at our job. It was me, she was the only white girl, and then 2 Hispanics, right? Hispanic girl, Hispanic guy. And she said, we were saying, like, hey, do you ever use the N-word? She's very genuine, like, what you see is what you get.
Okay.
And she said, yeah, I call my brothers that, but only when they're acting that way. And it was like, girl, what does that mean? I was like, now, what does that mean? But you could tell there was a naiveness to how she was saying it. The fact that she felt so comfortable to say it and didn't have, like, a fear of, like, somebody hurting her, you knew she didn't know, like, better, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
It wasn't like she was just being ignorant and was like, she wasn't like, oh, well, I'm gonna say it now, but if you have a problem, she
Right.
wasn't like that.
Right.
She really was naive.
Let me say another point to that.
Yeah.
My cousin that was in the conversation,
Yeah.
his mother, who is
Yes.
married in. I just want to preface that because what I'm about to say is embarrassing. Yeah. Jazz already knows who it is. Jazz already knows who it is. Yeah. That's his mom.
Oh, no.
So-
So it's not his fault.
It's not his fault. She's
Yeah.
really racist. She's really racist, y'all. She's really racist.
Yeah.
Real racist. She got kicked off of Facebook racist. She has a TikTok, but it's private. So, and I'm not going to follow her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what she's saying or hearing or doing on there.
I'm glad you got rid of her.
I'm so scared.
Could you imagine if I popped up at a function? She's like, people.
No, she's seen black people.
Okay. One of my friends has a child that every time he sees, like, a person of color,
Oh, I think you told me.
he looks scared. And I want to tell that mama, you need to expose him to more people that look like me.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
But yeah, she really was just saying it, and I was like, girl, I'm telling you this because I love you. You can't say that. And I don't ever say it in front of. I said don't say it, but especially don't say it in front of black people because you will get jumped.
Wait, so did she not know what the word meant?
She was using it in, like, a way to call somebody lazy, like that's what she would say, like.
But it just makes me wonder, like, in what context did she hear it in before? Who was saying this? Who taught her this?
I don't know, but you could tell, like, okay, you could tell her parent, whoever raised her was definitely redneck because she had, like, that type of culture, but she was also very free-spirited. So she would show up with, like, jars of, like, weed to work. And I'm like, you know, if you get pulled over, like, you gonna get in trouble.
No, Republicans smoke weed too, y'all.
Yeah.
Republicans smoke weed too.
Oh, yeah, she was Republican. But I was like, come on, girl.
So it's just like,
you
why?
know you gonna get in trouble if you riding around like this.
But she's not, though. She's white. That's why she's
Oh,
riding
yeah.
around like that. Jazz, come on.
The way she was just...
Don't act like you don't know.
You know what, yeah. But I just was always so concerned for her because she was always like, yeah. I'm like, girl, no.
Yeah.
I'm scared for your safety.
Yeah. But so that story, and then just, I guess, being Texan, being someone, I'm half white and half Mexican, but very an Americanized version of Mexican. Like, I don't speak Spanish. We didn't practice any of the Mexican cultures.
Culture.
Yeah, traditions. So I'm an American, and I would say I'm like what America is, right? Because like my mom is first generation, my dad is white, like I'm just a mix. I'm Tex-Mex, y'all. You know.
Yeah, and we love Tex-Mex.
Yeah. So I just kind of feel like, sorry, that's what being, that's something in my throat. That's what being Southern and white is. It's finding out that your family's kind of racist, or, you know, because like maybe they're not outwardly hateful, or they're really not hateful, because racism is kind of a loaded word, right? I wouldn't say they're hateful.
Yeah.
Because obviously I see my family with, they have friends who are not white, you know, black, whatever. And they're Hispanic themselves. They don't, even though they don't act like it.
Yeah.
Even though they voted for Trump. Hispanics for Trump, y'all.
Yeah.
They still have racist ideas, even though maybe they don't fully accept it or acknowledge it as racist. You know, it's kind of like what we've been saying, like it's covert. It's just so ingrained that it's like, if you don't know any better, or if you don't really know what you're saying, you're just regurgitating what you've heard, you're racist by default.
Yeah.
And I think we're at that point. I think that's what made people so uncomfortable about the Black Lives Matter movement, is that it made subconscious racism come, like that's like the woke, right? Like that's when we got that woke term, right? And so it literal, I mean, woke, like people who aren't racist, or white people who can identify their racism and their white privilege, are quote unquote woke.
Yeah.
Because they can come to terms with how this thing has morphed, and how it gives them a certain privilege above these other people, even though we aren't saying it, even though there aren't signs that say white and colored anymore.
Right.
It's still happening.
Yeah.
So.
And the comments too, from, because again, I'm from a really small town.
Yeah.
Which is like backwards as fuck. The comments were, but he's a criminal. Oh, but he shouldn't have been, because I think he got arrested for like writing a hot check or something like that.
Yeah, but exactly. They all want to say, oh, he's a criminal, or oh, but this, or oh, but this, or oh, but this.
It doesn't, it's not even the fact that you're viewing this person as it's the fact that he was slaughtered like an animal. That's what we need to be looking at, not the fact that he did something wrong. Because I've seen the craziest things happen with like a white guy behind like the gun. Like there could be a shooting, a guy shooting crazily into like a crowd of civilians, and they're handled with such care. I don't understand it. It's so ridiculous.
Literally, I'm pretty sure I saw a TikTok yesterday of, it was like a meth head versus 3 cops, and it was a white guy on meth running away from these cops, and they're just chasing after him like buffoons.
Yeah, never shooting him down.
No,
never. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either, and
no, we do know.
It is racism, but it's the fact that they can't see they can't identify their own biases, and yeah, it's like, I don't even know. It's just so crazy.
But yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like Kendrick Lamar. Back to him.
Okay.
He talks about like, because white people, I guess, will come up to him and be like fake woke. We'll talk about like racism and stuff like that. Right. But honestly, when you think about it, like they're still safe. They're still like partaking in whatever transgression is happening with people of color.
Right.
So he's just kind of like, hey, like I'm not asking y'all to fight the war of racism, because I already know who you are behind closed doors. Like, and so I feel like that was that was real, because at the same time, like, yeah, you can be like,
I feel like it's that white guilt.
yeah, I feel like sometimes it's performative, like, activism, like, okay, like, I'm doing this right now to, like, ease the, like, make it look like I care,
right,
and make it look like I'm advocating for lives, but when I go home, I'm like, you know what, like, I see what you're saying, Mom. Like, black people, you know, they do that.
But they're not doing, like, how we were talking about earlier. They're not in the streets. They're not planning protests. They're not boycotting companies who have, you know, done stuff against black people. They're not trying to penetrate the industrial prison complex. They're not doing the work.
Right. It's like, it was like that when the Black Lives Matter movement happened. Like, you saw all these people that would, like, all these celebrities filming that they were at these protests, and then people were showing that they were, like, photoshopped in places. Like, did you see where Madison Beer, like, people were calling her out because she literally stood on top of a car to get, like, a picture and, like, left?
You know what? I knew I didn't like her. I knew I didn't like her.
Literally, people were like, girl, come on now.
Yeah, performative activism. Yeah. Okay, so back to the panel.
Sorry.
No. No, I'm saying, like, what you're saying reminded me of something that happened. Okay, so one of the girls that I talked to, like, to interview, she was 23, so kind of our age, a little bit younger. She said that she was there with her parents, but she said that she wanted to go because she sees that our generation is doing all of our activism online. We're not, you know, boots on the ground, like how we've had to be in past generations because they didn't have the internet, right? They didn't have the internet, so they had no choice but to be boots on the ground.
Right.
In meetings, in houses, like, having community. And like I was telling you earlier about the Montgomery boycott. The Montgomery boycott, that man said, he said, it wasn't planned there in Alabama. It was planned here in Dallas.
Right.
But it happened there because if it was planned there, they would have found out about it and shut it down. And, like, that's what I was telling you. Our generation needs to learn how to do that, how to be in community with each other, in our homes, in our communities, in person, and to have that activism, right? Like, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
You know? So, but I don't know if I want to have too much faith, but I kind of think that maybe we're being pushed and we don't fully know it yet, because we all see and recognize that our social media is very obviously surveillanced.
Yeah.
You know? Even if they won't say it or we don't know it, right?
Yeah.
It's being surveillanced. So,
I have such a big fear that somebody is watching me while, like...
Oh my God.
Because sometimes, you know, like, when you see that little green light pop up on your phone?
Yeah.
I'm like, my FBI agent is, like, watching me change right now. Like, so sometimes I get, like, I'll turn... I don't want to be, like, filmed in my house.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're being surveillanced, and not just surveillance, but now we're being censored. Yeah. Now we're being censored on these platforms that we have used to organize.
Right.
So now we do need to learn how to come together and organize in person and do all of these things in person.
Yeah. I was telling Maya a little... Okay, so, like, right after Trump basically won the election, it just pissed me the fuck off so bad. Like, I felt a rage inside me so bad.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I don't want to keep being, like, performative. Like, I want to be out in my community, like, work. I want to be advocating for women. I want to be advocating for, like, people of color. And so I had been looking for, like, women's marches for, like, the past couple of months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling Maya, because out of the two of us, you know, she's the most plugged into, like, what's going on in our communities, because one, she's a journalist, and then she basically has you okay? Has all these opportunities to meet these cool people who do have the information, right? So Maya kind of is like my source for getting information, right? And so all of these places that had like posters up or like had like you can email them. I could not get an email back at all to tell me definitively like where we would meet like at.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. So how can we plan anything if we're not like,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It what's crazy is that okay, so I was trying to get involved in local government because Maya was like, okay, if we can't go to the marches, like let's at least try to be involved locally. I feel like they set up these town hall meetings at like the weirdest hours.
Really?
So the ones, because I live in Arlington, the one that takes place in Arlington is at 7 on like a Tuesday.
Okay.
So people are working during those hours. You know what I mean?
Kinda. I mean, not if you work a 9 to 5, but yeah,
Oh
they
yeah.
expect everyone to be working a 9 to 5. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like it's not always super accessible, which is an issue. But also, I always think about the fact that like we're all working, which is by design.
Yeah.
We're all working 40 hours a week so that we can't organize.
Right. So okay, so I was having a discussion with one of these ladies, and she works like the farmers market downtown, and we just got into this discussion about like local politics and in the government and stuff like that. And she was like, baby, like I'm being so for real, like even when you think that these politicians are all for free will and stuff like that, they're being bought by somebody. Because if you look at it, your little league teams, those are sponsored by people. Like the like if medical supplies are being given out, it's sponsored by somebody. So it's always in our face in a way. um so she was just saying like sometimes it is hard for the little man, the little guy to win, because I'm like, how do we win? Like how do we overcome?
We don't, and that's
yes.
the point.
Yes, so I think at this point, like I'm starting to become your dad. Like I'm like, yes, I'm fighting because I know that somebody has to do it, and we can always continue to share like stories and perspectives to give knowledge to people that come behind us. But as far as like winning politically, I do fear that it's going to be a war, unfortunately, that has to come about before.
Yeah, I
there will be
always say
change.
that it's gonna be a civil war before it's a revolution.
Yeah.
Before it's a people's revolution, it's gonna be a civil war. Unfortunately.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
When I watch like Hunger
I hope I'm
Games-
wrong, but I don't think I am.
No, I think you're very right. I think that people are gonna get fed up because you only can keep watching certain people win for so long before you become really resentful and angry and bitter. And I don't know if it's being put into place because there needs to be a deconstruction in the government. Like I don't know if it's being done on purpose with the puppets that we have that are in office right now.
100%.
But
I think it's always puppets. It's always been puppets. Everything else is the illusion. Like the branches of government are just there to say that we have them to keep
hey
the
guys,
rest
you actually do get
to
to
keep
vote.
us to keep us happy and quiet.
Yeah.
But I think about the episode of Succession.
Right.
Have you seen Succession on HBO?
I have not.
Okay, well you should watch it. Love Succession. Shout out Succession. There, it's about the main characters are a rich family.
Yeah.
The dad, he started the empire, and it's about his bratty kids. But anyways, this is one episode. They go to this party where it's all the Republican politicians.
Yeah.
Right? And all the CEOs. And they go to this party, and they're talking about deciding who the next president is going to be.
Oh.
So, yeah, the vote is a ha-ha Yeah,
Fine,
okay.
you
Yeah,
guys
you
thought
get
had
your
a
little
choice.
vote. Yeah, you can have your little vote.
Chose the guy we knew
Yeah.
his whole life.
Yeah, and it's just.
But honestly, though, the only thing that kind of is like, because Obama was in there. So I'm like,
But, well, okay, and I'll say this.
yeah,
I have a disclaimer with this
yeah,
thought right here. This quote. I don't know if this is real or if it's conspiracy theory or what.
yeah.
But I heard that Obama is connected the same way that all the other presidents are connected.
Oh no, he's my favorite.
Well, you know, he did bomb people too.
Oh yeah.
He sure did send those bombs.
No.
He sure did.
Did you ever see that Pete Davidson joke where everybody's like, "Who's your favorite rapper?" And he's like, if you ask that to a white person, you know, they're gonna name all the names, but of course it's gonna be Eminem because he's white, just like them. He's like, so that's that. Whenever black people are like naming their favorite president, like, sure they're gonna say they like all these other ones, but Barack Obama is gonna be their favorite.
And you say Obama, right? You're like, Obama, girl, but who followed Obama? Who came into office right after Obama?
That's not my president. I still don't even call him that.
But it's just, it's like we had a black president.
Yes.
And then right after we get the single worst president we've probably ever had.
Because they punished us for choosing a black
They
president.
said, y'all fucking thought.
And you think you have control here? Boom. Here you go.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's not any... It's a lose-lose all the way around. I feel like it doesn't matter who's in that office. We're going to find things to hate them for.
Well, yes, because, I mean, I didn't like Biden either.
None of them. None of them are good.
No. But, a point to make.
Yes.
Is.
Yes.
About the puppet. I mean, yeah, I guess they tried Biden, and I don't know what the story. I don't know what the storyline is that the puppeteers are pulling here, but it's very obvious now in our face with Trump. Like, Trump is an obvious puppet. Elon Musk is not helping the case. Okay, he is not helping the case by being all up in the White House.
Yeah, because what are you doing there?
What are you doing there? And the FAA, the federal, the airline people regulation, whatever.
Yeah.
I saw this news segment. It was like they want to put the Starlink. Elon Musk is whatever. I don't know what kind of technology it is, but they want to use. He's trying to get his technology into the airlines,
and we don't need that.
Nobody needs that. And also, it's just so very obvious that America is a business and not a country.
The fact that, okay, so we had like the three fathers of capitalism: Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. Who's the other one?
Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan? ?
It's somebody.
Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. Yeah, I don't know. Who
but
cares?
The fact that we put systems in place to where they couldn't monopolize. Okay, because me and one of my friends were actually talking about this. I have been seeing Tesla shit everywhere. Okay, they have a program right now for the Uber drivers.
Yeah,
that's all these people are driving are these Teslas.
I know.
And so, you have to have a certain type of insurance to drive these cars. Like, you can't just get a random ass insurance when you have Tesla. You have to buy whatever insurance they have for you. And then on top of that, it does sound like slavery, because these people would get these cars knowing how much they cost. They're like, I think the Uber drivers told me that they spend like $600 a month for the car note, right? Then you're paying like $300 for the insurance, sometimes more than that, right?
Holy shit.
It's a deal that Uber has to where you can pay your car off by leasing it in a way. But the only thing is, you only can drive a certain amount of hours a week. So they limit you to where you would be like in a 5-year contract with them. Yes. I said, oh no. And the fact that he's
Dude, capitalism is getting crazy.
These robots, and then you're talking about
the Starlink.
I feel like whatever robots he's putting together, and he has those ugly ass transformer trucks. They're so fucking scary.
And you know what? You know what? I just want to put this out there on the pod, since we have a pod.
Yeah.
This will be our wrapping up point. I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is getting way too close. He's up in Texas. I mean, way down at the coast.
Yeah.
But his dirty ass, stupid ass, bullshit ass, broken ass, rockets. What is it? SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
He went into this town, and of course it's poor, right? Barely surviving, like about to collapse.
Yay.
And so of course they're on one hand, I guess they kind of are glad that the jobs are coming in, sort of, kind of, but not really for them, because what Elon Musk is doing is he's importing his employees to that area and having homes built for them.
Oh no.
So what's gonna happen?
He's doing the white man thing.
Yeah. Well, he's South African, so he's OG.
Oh, okay. Sure.
He OG colonizer. Anyways.
You know that's his argument. Every time somebody calls him racist, he's like, I'm African.
Oh, no. No.
If he said that...
No, didn't you see that thing where he was like, we're all slaves?
Yes, that pissed me the fuck off so bad. I said, shut up.
Okay, so anyways, what's going to happen to this town is that all these stupid Elon Musk people, SpaceX people are going to come in. They're going to gentrify that place.
Yep.
Everyone living there is going to die of poverty.
Yep.
They're going to be homeless on the street.
I say burn it all down.
And there are, but at the same time, I don't know how really it's going to work out for the people living there either, because his stupid plant is polluting everything over there.
Oh my gosh.
So,
sucks.
Whatever.
I say let
They're going to have
eat
mutated
cake
babies.
so bad. Like, sometimes I get so ragey. Like, you know when you get into, like, those anger spirals where you're like, I can't even take my anger out on anybody because this is just the world we live in. Mm-hmm. It just makes me want to just set things on fire so bad.
Me too.
I wish that I didn't have, like a life that I felt like fighting for. Because I would just start doing shit.
You know what's bad?
Yeah.
Is that a lot of times, almost once a day at this point, I have the thought of like, it's so good that I don't know anything about math or science, because if I knew how to build a bomb,
I would do it.
I would do it in 2 seconds.
Real quick. I would be like, let's do this. Because, yeah, honestly, like, it's probably a good thing that two people that are really empathetic about what's going on in the world, who do see that people really don't give a fuck. Like, people are not advocating for anybody but themselves at this point. Our government is, it's like fucked up.
They're clocked out.
Yeah.
They're checked out.
It's like, who's gonna do it if we don't?
No, seriously. Who's gonna do it if we don't? And we're gonna end on that point, because I have to pee.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Deuces.
Deuces.